What's up, team? Welcome to the Huddle, your weekly playbook where we strategize not only on playing the game, but changing it. From mastering the fundamentals of the craft to distinguishing yourselves in the marketplace, we're here to give you, the installer, a voice and ensure you're equipped with everything you need. Let's band together and forge a new legacy in flooring. This is where you belong. Welcome to the team. What's up,
Welcome,
fellas?
everyone. How's it
What's going
going?
on, brother? Look at you like a robot, just getting that thing down like that.
Well, you'd think after about 400 episodes, you'd get it down, but
When
got it
nobody's
down
seen,
today. Thanks for noticing.
what
And thanks
nobody's
to
seen
my
was the
buddy, Andy
chaos.
Priscilla. Hook us up. Sponsor our show.
The chaos 3 seconds before you went on air.
Yeah.
Help!
Hell, it's all part of doing a podcast, folks. It takes a small tribe and a lot of teamwork between these talented folks on here that try to keep me in some type of line. But all right, well, guys, how's it going? Welcome the audience to the Huddle. I'm Paul Stewart. I'm the founder and CEO of Go Carrera. Also, I'm the president of Stewart and Associates. With me, as always, is Mr. Daniel and Jose Gonzalez of Preferred Flooring out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. So if you're up in that neck of the woods looking for some high quality commercial flooring providers, both materials and labor, sometimes materials, whatever you want, these guys,
Whatever they need.
whatever you need. These
We
are
have
your
a
guys
solution
up in
for that.
Michigan.
We got a solution for that.
There's an app for that. That's funny. What's up, Jorge? So today's topic kind of flows along with some previous topics we had about niching your business. We also have had a discussion about expanding your services. This is about scaling your business. So this is strategies on scaling your business, which, to be clear, offering more services doesn't necessarily equate to scaling. And when we're talking about scaling, we want you to think about finances and the supporting personnel that you're going to need if you are, say, a $500,000 company and you want to go to 5 million. That's scaling. Growing, you can grow slow and steady, keep ahead of inflation on your growth and profit, and you can run a sustainable business, nice sweet spot if you can find it. I guess to kick us off, I was going to ask a question. When should you scale up your flooring business? When? Meaning, and why? Those two questions, really should you be. So I think it's worth asking yourself the question of why do you want to? Is it because you just want a bigger business? Because I can tell you from
because bigger is better, right?
Yeah, and I think that's sometimes that's a lot of times the thought. And we're just kind of, I think a lot of people are built that way, men and women, to you do something, you build a business, it's going well, and you want to grow it bigger. You want to see how big you can take this thing. I have had experience where I actually made way more money with a lot less headache and less employees. Not that employees are always a headache, but just less employees, less payroll, less of everything. And there was a time when I made more money at about, half the size, and we had to grow through that. But those can be challenging times. Scale doesn't always equal to profit. In fact, if you're scaling, truly growing your business at a rapid pace, it will eat up your cash flow. So I know the guys wanted to talk about a few things that you got to think about. And maybe we can start in the commercial space first, since we're all got experience there. And then I want you guys to talk about the residential space. I'm a little less knowledgeable in that retail residential, but in the commercial space, you you have to really start thinking if you're going to grow your business big, you really have to start thinking about banking relationships, tax attorney relationships, and contract attorney relationships. Those three things are paramount to you staying in business.
So
Uh,
what I heard was more money, more problems. That's what I heard.
you got it. Diddy may be in trouble right now, but he had that right.
Yeah, yeah. He got too much money, so much money that he forgot that he could actually create his own problems.
Yeah, he thought he grew away from the problems, and they came knocking on the doorstep. But there's a lot to be said about it, dude. Like
So you
you
said
get
something or when you were making the introduction about the subject today about making more money, right? So let's you get bigger, and this is from our personal experience, right? Revenue generated is greater, right? Like you are generating more revenue because you could kick out more work, but the profits are the thing that shrunk. So that's why the less people made more money was more profit. There's more profitability in keeping things smaller and cleaner, right? Because now you don't have to watch 50 things. You're only watching 10. It's easier to keep track of and know when you're
well, and
losing and gaining.
you don't have to have as many specialists. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like in the early days, we had a PM that was also the estimator, which was also the warehouse guy.
That's us right now.
You know
We're
what I mean?
the everything guy.
Yeah,
Maintenance. What's today?
and the
Tuesday?
maintenance dude.
Maintenance on Wednesday
As
and
you
Saturday.
grow and you get bigger, now you need an estimator, maybe two estimators that just estimate. You may need, we have four or five, six project managers. So you got to have specialized people that do that specialized thing as you get bigger. And the other thing is, as you get bigger, you get bigger jobs, and bigger jobs means the bulk of your profit is in retainage in commercial, and that is held until the project, not until you're done, but until the project is done and the owner has paid the general contractor his retainage, then he'll pay you your retainage. And that can
Yeah.
be, I mean, I've had that be well over a year. You do $1.5 million flooring project, and even after we're done with our flooring, it takes them 6 months to open the facility, another month to get through final punch lists, and then another 3, 4, 5 months for the GC to get paid his retainage, and then you finally get yours. That means all the profit if you got 10% retainage. And I tell you what, if you're netting 10% in the commercial business, you're doing pretty doggone well, especially if you're bigger. If you're, netting 10% and you're smaller, where you have those multiple roles in one person, it's a little bit easier to obtain those kind of numbers. But as you grow and you hire employees and you're doing all these things, you get warehouse guys, and then warehouse manager with a warehouse guy, and then you get another truck, and you get 3 more trucks, and you got vans, and all this growth eats up your cash flow. And when you do that fast, you can run yourself right out of business if you grow too fast. So I would ask you to consider why you want to scale if you are wanting to. And if you've got a good set of systems and processes
Yeah, that
work
was
really
there
well,
you go.
that you can then grow to the next level. I always, we've grown really fast before, and we've grown steady. I'd pick steady every day. With being in this business since 99, I'd pick steady, 5% over inflation growth than, scaling it 60% a year.
Yeah. Because
What do you guys?
it's a lot easier that way too, right? Like, because now instead of having to create positions to sustain that, you're slowly understanding what is needed instead of saying, I got to go grab this right now. Boom. Okay, you're in charge of this. This is your spot. and then you grab somebody else, throw them in another bucket. That's your bucket. This is your bucket. This is your bucket. When you're slowly growing, you can say, you know what, I can split this one into 2 or 3 buckets.
That's it, right? Because we talk about EOS before and about the entrepreneurial operating system and how you have to kind of start breaking down the roles that you do into everything and then start delegating. And that's the first step, right? Start breaking down everything that you do. And I think that's one of the issues with just the installers in general is that we're always like, no one can do it as good as I can do it. So that means I'm just going to have to continue to do it. But there's if you do want to scale, there's going to be a point where you have to say, okay, I need someone to do this so that way I can focus my time on something else.
Well, one other thing to consider, what do you love to do? Right? A lot of us, we start a business and we love the installing, maybe we like selling to a customer. You get to a certain size and the problem is that you will get drug away from doing that stuff that you possibly love doing, and trade off you're meeting with your banker all the time trying to keep money flowing. You're trying to get project, maybe you're trying to set up lines of credit per project or a major line of credit for your entire company. You're meeting with attorneys on contracts and you're trying to get through contracts all the time. Like, you can end up doing a whole different side of the business that you are maybe not capable of doing at a high level.
Right.
And maybe, which I certainly was not. I went through a terrible growing pains. But that, I'm a hard-headed nerd that kept thinking that growth equaled, was my goal in life. Just be the biggest
bigger is
possible.
better. Bigger is better. And
I
that's
just
what
wanted to be the
right, that's what
biggest.
Nate says right here, because he's from Wisconsin with a dairy analogy. A farmer can handle 75 cows, but if he doubles the herd, he only gets a 10 to 20% increase in income because the bigger herd costs more. And
Yeah.
that's true. I mean, across the board. I mean, the more people you pull in, the more labor you got to dish out, right?
Labor
And
expensive.
the more labor hours you got to watch. I mean, if you think about it this way, think about if you have employee installers and they're good guys, but we all know you may get a 10-minute little rip from the time here and there. We try to limit it by mobile timekeeping and hiring right, but still, I've had it happen. You have that happen with 3 employees. That's one thing, right? 30 minutes a day. Call it $30 an hour. You're losing $100 a day on wasted either way. And maybe it's not even nefarious. Maybe it's just wasted time, cross talking too much, whatever. But let's say that's 3 employees equals $100 a day you're losing. Take that times 10 or 15 or 20 when you grow your team, right? Now you're talking $1,000 a day you're losing in lost productivity or maybe stolen time. I mean, it's all this stuff matters. You really got to track it, and it's kind of like tracking your job site. And there's a lot of tools out there in the world for tracking your job site, but none even compare to Floor Cloud. As you guys know, Floor Cloud's a great sponsor of the Huddle here, and I want you to discover how Floor Cloud can transport your project site conditions right to your fingertips, right there on your phone. You want to talk about increasing efficiency and profitability? You can do so if you're growing your business with Floor Cloud. Floor Cloud will enable real-time monitoring of your job site conditions via desktop or your mobile device. So if you're out on another job site, you want to know how one of your other project site conditions are, you can do it right from your mobile phone. No more manual checks for temperature, humidity, or dew point. No need for these big base stations, or because of Wi-Fi. This is all based on cellular. So it's simple. You scan the front of the device with the QR code, and you're up and running with the most accurate and innovative site monitoring system in the flooring industry. You can dispatch your crews with confidence now because you don't have to wonder what the site conditions are. No more crews going out, turning around and coming back because job site ain't ready. I'm a huge believer in Floor Cloud technology. The easy setup and simple interface makes it a no-brainer, guys. So many of our projects are hours away. We're in Kansas. It could be 4 hours away and still be in Kansas. So being able to get a site condition and moisture readings here at the office is a real savings. Technology moves fast, and being on the front line with Floor Cloud is a real game changer. Thank you to Floor Cloud for sponsoring this episode. I know you guys are big believers and have mobilized their technology. So that's another thing, staying on the forefront of that. When you grow, you are now competing. When you have a scaled business and you're growing and you're getting bigger and bigger, you're now competing with more sophisticated companies as well. I'm not trying to talk you out of growing or scaling your business. I'm trying to make you think and ask yourself the right questions so you can ensure that you actually want to go through that.
Yeah, we've got Floor Cloud on one project now, and it's already been huge in, like, because this architect is a pain, but having
you want to scale up, you got to get used to that
at the fingertips and just being like, here is the site conditions, right? And it's actually nice because the architect wants things done right. So they're like, okay. And then they go back to the GC and they're like, do something about this. And then I'm not fighting it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not only Floor Cloud, but in technology in general, I know you guys, as you grew, started looking at different technology, different ways to be as efficient as you could possibly be. And, as people coming into the business or you're wanting to grow your business, maybe getting into the commercial world, you're going to need to, really start investigating that kind of stuff too. So I just don't want it rosebuds and flowery rainbows and stuff as when we start talking about scale. When you're talking about scaling your business, it sounds sexy, but to be honest with you, if you're not properly prepared, it can be a real hard thing to do, and to do so profitably, I should say. I know I've had my bruises and scratches and cuts, and so that's what I would ask everybody if you're talking about scaling is, should you, and when should you, and why do you want to?
Now, I will add this too, just for like the single installer who thinks that scaling is actually employing people and maybe getting brick and mortar, and trying to go that way. But, investing in yourself, in making sure that you have the right equipment, the right transportation, the right tooling, the right knowledge, that is one of the things that you can do just to help you scale up organically, right? Like, people like to see someone investing in themselves and they notice it. And it would help you as well. So it doesn't necessarily, scaling up to me doesn't necessarily mean, going from 5 to 50, right? It might mean going from 1 to 1 plus some good amenities that is needed. And that could help you organically scale up. And you might see some attention that you haven't or normally don't see, which might open up more doors and make you start thinking about taking the next steps as well.
Yeah, that's a great point because, there's plenty of installers out there that, let me say this, the most profitable guys I know in the business are the self-performers with a really good team, great equipment, a small storage space or a nice shed at their house that has their equipment, and they take care of their equipment, and they take care of their people, and they have a great team of 4 to 8 guys. Those guys who still get out there and do the work, they get their crews out, they got their little crew leaders, they got their crew leaders, they get out there and handle,
not just a little guy,
and they talk on the phone a little bit, but when that smaller team is well oiled, I know blue collar millionaires, man, that have done fantastically well for themselves, installing floors, running a good installation business, and being smart about it, having high trained guys and investing in their team, both more morale wise as well as training, skill wise. Those are probably the lowest headache, most profitable guys I know.
I agree.
Hugo, a tile team here in Wichita, we 1 year paid them well in excess of $1 million, and those guys knocked it out of the park.
Want to thank all the little peeps out there.
But
Yes.
there's a great deal of pride and frankly money to be made running a business that way.
I think you're right on, and those guys are the ones that, like you said, they have a team, right? Like they might not necessarily have employees, but they have a team of people that they're trusted or that they trust, that they've acquired over the years, and they might have a team of builders or contractors that trust them and their team, and they don't have to go out and bid. They just get a phone call
Dude,
and
the
say, "I
best
have this
ones
thing."
actually have at least the best ones I know actually have employees. It's usually
Yep.
a set of brothers or a cousin and a
Go
cousin or
figure.
something. Like literally, it's like those two guys hire people by the hour, make sure they're trained, care about their equipment, and have an accountant that takes care of everything for them, a third party. They just drop everything in off it once a week. And like I said, Alex and Hugo, that team, they did well in excess of $1 million for us 1 year. And they had a team of them two and three other guys. And they
Good for
ran it
them.
out of
That is awesome.
a garage at their house where they kept all their equipment. And they just cared about that and doing great work,
And
building their little.
that's that example of, like some people say, becoming complacent, right? Like being stagnant. That's not stagnant. That is a very controlled, very strategic way to go about having a business model. It's no, we can't do that, guys. We're still here. Look at, we've just learned how to control this. Let's see if we can control this and maintain this line, this control line, for as long as we possibly can. And then once we get to a good point where we can invest comfortably, then we can make the next jump. That's a good way to go about it. I like the way that you put that.
Yeah, it was an example of a couple of guys, brothers, that just cared about having a good time at work. They were never like very rarely they get bent out of shape, but they always got until they ended up kind of going their separate ways. One wanted to scale back and even get smaller and do residential only. And the other one wanted to stay in commercial. So they split ways from that aspect. But they it was a amicable split, and they just decided when they were together, they just decided that we're gonna have a good time. The band did break up, Jorge, but they are still they still love one another. But it was just it's just a testament of when you can double down, they could scale their profit, but they didn't have to scale their growth. They could make really good profit, make really good, find better ways to, more efficient saws, more efficient grinding
Mhm.
equipment, this kind of thing, to increase their profit without necessarily having to do a ton more revenue. So there's two things there that you want to think about. And revenue, at the end of the day, revenue's pretty, but profit is what gets the, you know,
So it keeps
gets
the doors open.
that's what keeps the doors open and keeps the lights on and allows you to live the lifestyle that you want.
Yes, sir.
So what else do you guys, we talked about, this has been really a lot about commercial. When you're talking to a retailer, maybe a small retailer who's wanting to grow, or a residential installation shop wanting to grow, that's more in your guys' realm of expertise. What do you guys, obviously there's like you can open up another store across town or in another small town outside. But what do you
I mean,
guys? What's your thoughts?
when you're thinking residentially, right? And we're focused on just like the installer base, just talking about like maybe being a one crew type thing, and then you're trying to scale up and just trying to maybe start selling material. It's what do you got to do in order to store that material? It's looking at just like getting a warehouse or looking at maybe inventory or something, or partnering with someone that will hold that inventory for you.
What about quality control? Because you know what you can do and maybe what this other guy can do. But as you start growing, maybe you catch wind of some builder starts loving you and starts wanting to throw you all the work that they can, all you can handle. How do you quality control that? Like, that's one of the interesting
quality
things
control starts with you understanding your limitations and being transparent with your clients or potential clients. That's one way to start quality control. Don't promise the stars when you can't even make it to the moon. You know what I'm saying? Just go. You got to be comfortable telling someone, I'm uncomfortable with that, and this is why. But I can do some research and find out if in my network I have somebody with those strengths and attributes that you're looking for, and if so, then we can do work. That's the hardest thing to do, right? Because most entrepreneurs, business owners, or anyone trying to grow, they're like, yes, I can, and just dive in. We'll figure it out later. Just say yes, and then we'll figure it out, right? Like we're pretty good at that, but I'm not going to go and tell someone I'm going to do, a bathroom renovation and pretend that I am the best that they're ever going to find at doing some custom showers and floors and patterns. I'm not going to go do no stuff like you see on TikTok or like what's his face does all the time.
Jorge on carpet.
Well, him too, but on the tile side, like Ken Badland or Rob Bergerson.
Yeah, I'm not going to promise anybody. Like they say that, I'm going to connect you with some other people, right? Now,
being okay saying no.
Yeah, that's I think that's the first.
That's a hard thing to do. I'll admit that.
It is, and I went and measured a house, and the reason why she found us was actually because of the podcast, and she was moving, from across the country, and she was like, I want you to come measure this. I found your podcast. You guys are certified. I found you on all these sites. And then she, measured her whole house, and she was like, and this is this restroom right here. I want tile shower, the whole works, but it's not going to go yet. And I said, I can do everything else. As far as this bathroom goes, I'll put you in touch with someone that's going to take care of you.
Yeah. Well,
as long as you buy the material from me. No.
She probably appreciated that too.
Humility goes a long way.
That transparency.
Yeah, humility, transparency goes a long way with people that have values in common with you.
Yeah. So another way though is, and shout out to my guys, that are NFIC, is getting more specialized. We did talk about that in a previous podcast, but when you're one of the few that can do specialized tile work or carpet work, you can scale not only your revenue, but your profit for sure, because there's just not that many people that do it. I mean, even, here in Wichita, like I said, we're probably 600,000 or 700,000 in the metro, and there's a very few handful of guys that do really specialized work like that. And you get outside of that, and you have the guys that want to do carpet tile, LVP, and that's it. And in the commercial world, the Flash Cove sheet vinyl heat welded stuff is a good example of work that is more specialized now. back when I first started, the company I worked for we had 3 or 4 people that could flash cove heat weld, and it was a much smaller company than what we are, and I only have 3 crews or 3 people that I would send out to do a flash cove heat welded sheet vinyl
Yeah.
project. So,
So if you guys are looking to get trained on some flash cove and heat weld, NAFCT is doing a class in October over at America's Floor Source, FYI.
where's that?
So
Up in your neck of the woods?
yeah, it's in Ohio.
So how about you say it like this? If you guys want to get trained and certified by Daniel himself, this is a class you're not going to want to miss.
I might go to that.
I don't know. That makes me nervous now.
Yeah, right.
I might have to go to that too. That would be sweet to tell.
No, that's a great opportunity if you are an installer that does like carpet, tile, LVP, and you do good floor prep. You know how the floor needs to be for LVP, your 2 millimeter thin stuff, then learning those sheet vinyl skills, man, I'm telling you what, that is in the commercial world, that is where we are constantly. I mean, it's one of the questions we ask every installer comes into interview. You ever do flash cove heat weld? No? Dang. Because those guys are hard to come by.
Yeah, we've had to trust people to come on job sites and help out. I don't say job sites, come on projects to help out when a schedule was laid in front of us that was nearly impossible. You got a handful of people that say, yes, we do. And then you have no choice but to trust them. And then next thing you know, you're like, I need you to get off my job site.
What's up,
Just
Jesus?
leave. Just leave, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you come with, the receipts, the certifications, and the actual trainings,
show me the receipts.
But
you will.
Guys, I got to take off. I got to get my son up to the school.
All right, my man.
You mean you got to be a dad?
I got to go be a dad for
daddy duties. Daddy duties. Well, thanks for joining, brother, and thank you as always for
we'll see you guys,
being a staple.
I try. I do what
Huddle,
I can.
Stop talking already. Just leave, bro.
There he goes. All right. So anyway, when we're all talking about scaling the business and doing those things, considering whether or not it's time, if you have your resources together, and do you want the extra headache? I think those are the big things just to consider fully before you just start jumping in and growing your business like crazy, and you turn around and you're negative in your bank account. You ain't got a line of credit. You got all these like problems and issues that you're trying to deal with, and they all stem from not having enough capital to run the company. So stand back, ask yourself, is it time to grow? Do I want the extra headache? And if I do, if I believe that I'm built for that, make sure that you're getting that your personal, development is high up on your radar. It's something you're going to have to learn to be good at if you're not already good at. I had to learn how to be a business person, and I was terrible at it for so long. I would say I'm ashamed, but at the end of the day, it made me better. But I had to learn the hard way on a lot of stuff, and it wasn't fun. I'm still learning.
You and us both, brother. Still learning the hard way of some things.
Yeah.
So you made a good point too, as far as you could do your best to kind of dot your I's, cross your T's, if you will. But is this my strength? I guess am I mentally prepared for scaling up? And if you are for that next step, where's your roof? I think that's where we didn't game plan it all. We just kind of let it all happen. And I think game planning might have scared us a little bit or made us rethink our approach. And we might not have had some of the negative experiences as far as the scaling portion. But I will say, like, it's going to go back to education. It always goes back to education. That's just one of the things you got to learn about it, right? Before
Experience and
getting,
education. It's the only two ways you get good at
yeah.
anything.
So before we started doing like entertaining the idea of bid work, Daniel and I took an advanced estimating class. We just kind of dove right in. We wanted to understand what we were looking for on these larger commercial jobs. We wanted to understand how the contracts were structured. We wanted to understand all that. So that's one of the steps that we took in preparation. Probably one of the only steps we took in preparation for our next
That's
step.
better. That's better than nothing. At least you took a technical step.
Yeah.
I think, kind of like I mentioned earlier, and Roland just commented, he said, first thing you need to do is look at yourself and be ready to work harder for the first year. I would venture to say that if you're starting a business, that first couple of years is going to be the hardest you ever worked in your life to make it
Yeah.
successful. First off. Secondly, and that shouldn't scare you away. It's just you got to be ready for it. And secondly, anytime you're growing a business, especially when you hit these big like thresholds, I'd say 3 million, then 5, then 10, then 15. Those big thresholds are, and it can be in smaller increments in that, but it's these big next steps kind of thing where your systems that got you to be able to do 500,000 will be obsolete to do 5 million.
Yeah.
It just
Yes.
will be. And you have to be willing to consistently educate yourself and grow and be willing to ask for help and get involved with the industry and get to know people like the Gonzalez brothers up there in Michigan. Come and get to know some of the people that are on this podcast and some of the experts we've had on here and understand what it takes to grow your business, and see where they're at. Ask them questions and, get curious and grow your mindset and your skills and abilities from a business perspective.
Did you see that comment from Nate? Being responsible. Here, I'm gonna put it back up there. Being responsible for the income of another person or a family keeps me small.
Yeah.
Yep. You are right.
A lot of responsibility, brother.
And a lot of respect to you for recognizing that you don't want to be uncomfortable, right? Taking on too much to where it might affect their family.
It's a lot, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of pressure to make sure the payroll's met every week and that you're growing to a sustainable level and that you always have the cash flow coming through that you can reinvest in your company. Business is tough, but the number one stressor, especially on the early days for me, was making payroll 100%. And it was more than just that person's going to be mad at me. That person put their faith in me that they was going to have a job that was going to give them a weekly paycheck that would put food on their table. And that's an immense amount of stress to have to go through, and know that if you fail, you're failing them in a major way, and they may not be able to pay their rent that month because of you.
Yeah. And
that's not that. I'll second what you said. It's admirable that you stay where you really love to be. And if Nate obviously loves to be where he's at and do the excellent work he does and do the trainings he does and do those things and not have to have that responsibility of another person's livelihood on your shoulders, that's a big deal. It's a big deal. And not everybody should do it. Not everybody can do it or should do it. And that's not to boast those who do. It is just the mere fact that not everybody should be doing that.
And back to what Nate had said too is, before we hired our first employee, it was our goal to make sure that we had enough money in the bank to cover a year's wages for them. And that is only because I was, and Daniel was at one point, one of the people that experienced a bounce check, right? And they never come at the right time. It's always the time when you need it most. And it's just like, I don't ever want to tell someone that they can't eat after they worked this hard for me. I don't ever want to tell someone that.
I worked for a company, my first company in flooring, and
oh shit,
I had 5 paychecks that we held. We used to race. Luckily, I had a friend that ended up, I started my first business, my first flooring company with. His name was Steve, and he was a PM there, and he'd call me. This was when cell phones just came out, and you played Snake was the biggest game on the.
when you had a text like this.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. But he'd call and tell me, like, got a check, and I would go get in my car, and as soon as you seen someone else going to their car at 10 o'clock in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, everybody went to their car. If you pulled out a driveway, everybody's racing to the bank. I had 5 checks at one point that I held. The problem I had was the job I had before, I made $4 less an hour. And so I was like, I'm making better money, even though I'm not actually getting the money. Eventually, they always would clear. But at one point, I held 5 checks.
Man,
and
making better
that experience
money
is also another reason why, when I got into business, I never wanted to put an employee through that. Now, my subs, I'd talk to them. Hey, you're a sub. You're in your own business too. Sometimes, pay gets delayed. Subs, that is what you sign up for.
That's the nature of the beast.
But I did not want an employee ever going without a paycheck.
I think that we've been fortunate enough to be able to take care of our subs as well.
How wise are you guys for wanting a year of? I never even thought of that,
dude. I tell you what, man,
that's incredible. That's really
that was
mature.
hard. That was hard to see money in the bank and to say, I'm broke. But it gets easier. It gets easier over time, right? You see dollars and cents in there. You just, that's not really mine. I mean, my name's on the account. The business is in our name, but really that's not really mine. And that's how we had to go about it. I do want to add.
That's really mature for the time frame.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking early days that you guys decided to do that. That's a business maturity. That is next level. So kudos. That was awesome. That's awesome to hear you guys approached it that way. I wish I would have.
Man, well, I didn't. That was the only way. It motivated us as well, right? Like it was motivation.
Yeah.
It helped motivate us, right? Another thing is what you said about holding the 5 checks, and that is the thing as a sub too, right? Like when you're getting into the game, and when you start your business, you're already scaling up. You're already taking that couple steps more than a lot of people. But you also have to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with good, reputable people who aren't going to be giving you checks that you have to worry about for larger dollar amounts and larger projects. And we experienced that one as well. And I mean, it was bad. Like you said, you're holding 5 checks. It's bad when I go pick up a check and in front of the guy, I call the bank. Check number, blah, blah, blah. Is there enough there to cover this?
Well, as usual, Roland may have the record on certifications. He certainly may have the record here. He says, I have 23 checks sitting in my desk from the last company I worked for. That's why I have the store I have now.
As in that was motivation? Like they're not cashed and you didn't.
Yeah. Did you end up cashing, Roland, to start your job? I took it as, or start your business. I took it as that he got fed up with not getting paid and started his store.
What I want to know is how do you have 30 or 27 checks that you didn't cash and still able to start a business? You need to write a book, bro.
No doubt. You need a whole new business book because you made it work.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's funny. We're talking, and there's a lot of comments about stores that, or like Jorge says here, back in his day, his pops had to chase down his employers at the local bar or billiards to try to get their weekly pay. That's
yeah.
crazy. Yeah, I mean, that's a real thing. The key here is you don't want to be that guy. None of us, we don't want to be those kinds of guys. We want to propel this industry through our businesses into a new frontier. Like I say in the intro, that's a real thing. Like we want to improve the industry. And the way you can do it is one company at a time, doing the best business you can possibly
Yeah.
do. Now, we're all, I feel it necessary to say we're not perfect. No one's perfect. We make
No.
mistakes. But at the end of the day, doing the best work you can, the best quality you can, and giving back to your industry through getting certified, that is a way of giving back. Getting your certifications, getting involved with your local CFI chapters, getting trained in sheet vinyl if you're going to go down that route, being highly trained in tile work and gauge porcelain panels, all this kind of stuff. That is giving back to your industry, because having the highest quality workforce we could possibly have will start to get us recognized again as a real trade. I don't know how we ever lost that. It takes more skill to do this business. I've said this 1,000 times, than any other skilled trade, in my opinion. You don't need the hand skills that you need in flooring, whether it's in painting, maybe in finished carpentry, high end finished carpentry. But outside that, like painting, acoustical ceilings, drywall, mud and taping, I'm not saying they don't take skill. I'm just saying not the same level of hand skill. Electricians, I mean, you got to have the knowledge, but it doesn't take that much, great hand skills to strip wire, pull wire. Like, it takes a lot of mind skill. Um, if we want to bring our industry continue to increase our industry standing in the construction industry at large, it means us giving back. And giving back does look like us getting certified. It does look like us getting educated. It does look like us running good businesses and good crews and good people. So,
Yeah. So I guess that circle of yours, right? Keep it small and tight when you're trying to scale. Um, I'd say that would keep things a lot simpler. And ask advice, ask information. Um, do I look? Anything that we're saying today on the podcast, we're just giving you information from our experiences, and we're not saying this is going to
mhm.
work for you. This isn't a template and a how-to guide at all, right? This is what we found worked for us, and this is what we've experienced, and what didn't work for us.
It's at least the pitfalls,
Yeah,
some of
and
the pitfalls.
if I could go back in time and tell our younger selves a little bit of advice, it would be keep that circle small and tight. Only scale based off of your strengths, and if you have the right crew, make sure you scale according to what they're showing you or who they're showing you they are, not what they're telling you they want to be. Because what they want to be, um, for your crew or for your friends and your family that are joining you to help you grow a business, what they want to be is successful for themselves as well. And sometimes you're not in that future, so don't put all your eggs in one basket, or put all your eggs in five people's baskets and let them carry them around. You gotta take them eggs back every night and incubate them a little bit, make sure they're dusted off and clean. Um, I don't know what else to say about that.
Well, I'm catching what you're putting down, or I'm picking up what you're putting down. I think that the big thing that, in closing here, I would say is that a lot of people, if taking the same thought process you just had, if if I was to go back to my younger self and say, hey, here's a word of advice, kid, it would be find the sweet spot. It's okay. Like, you don't need to be the biggest. Many times in my business, we've been the largest flooring contractor in Kansas, and in some cases, with the largest in the entire Midwest. And so the that's all ego driven. I would have, I've scaled it back a little bit,
Mm.
and it's way harder to do that than it is to just grow steady. And as long as you're outpacing inflation, you can kind of use that 5 to 10% of post-inflation number. So if inflation's growing at 8%, you
Yeah.
need to be growing at 18 to 20%. When inflation's down, you don't have to grow as much to stay nice and profitable. But I had some times in my career in business where we had hit the sweet spot and profits were really good. We had the right size team. Everybody was working together really well. Very few headaches. It was like almost like magic. And then there's times when every contract felt like just clawing up a mountain with no spikes, man. So I would tell myself it's okay. Find the sweet spot, and that it's okay to stay there and have sustainable growth.
Sustainable growth. That's
Yep.
Why didn't we just say that in the first 5 minutes? We wouldn't need to be on here for 55 minutes.
Well, we gotta fill up our time too. We gotta tag them along and drag them along. So guys, Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for all the comments. If you're catching us on YouTube, we'd really appreciate a like, a subscribe. That's what helps our channel grow a little bit. The more we grow, the more people we can get out to, the more, if you enjoy our message, that's your way to share it. So
Rollin did send me pictures of those.
That's insane. That is crazy. Rollin, you're my hero now. You were my hero anyway. But if you catch us on any of the social channels, give us a like, leave us a comment. Let us know what kind of topics you'd like us to explore in the future. We'll do our best to get an expert on or give you a bit of our banter when it comes to that topic. So we appreciate you guys so much. You have no idea. Our weekly participants that are always on here, you guys rock.
Yeah,
you're
fantastic.
You're the rock of this podcast, and we really appreciate that. So everybody out there, have a great week, and we will catch you next week, 3 p.m. Central, Tuesday. Adios.